Hey guys, so today I thought we could do a full face of CoverGirl. So I always like doing these kinds of one brand tutorial videos just because it's a good way to really see the full range of what a brand has to offer. And CoverGirl's been a brand that I've been really curious about for the past couple of years. I just hadn't really tried much from them, but ever since they went cruelty free a couple of years ago, I've been really curious to know what is and isn't good from CoverGirl. And recently, Look Fantastic offered to send me a few items from their website, and I decided to pick out some CoverGirl things just so I could just try out some more from the brand. So some of these things are things that I already had in my collection, and some of them are new to my collection. So thank you to Look Fantastic for sending those over. This isn't sponsored, but I think there should be a discount code though if you're curious to check them out. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into the full face. So as far as sunscreen today, I just have the Kinship Self-Reflect sunscreen on. That's been like my daily go-to. And for my base today, all the products I'm going to be using are from their Clean Fresh line. So I have their Clean Fresh Skin Milk, which this I've had for quite a while, and lately this has been one of my favorite foundations. And then newer to me that Look Fantastic sent over are the Clean Fresh Concealer and Powder. So let's go ahead and apply this Skin Milk. I have the shade Fair in this. And this is kind of like somewhere between a tinted moisturizer and a light coverage foundation. And what I like about it is it just looks very skin-like and natural on my skin. My issues with it in the past, oh, there's one. See, sometimes there's these little gritty particles in there that are just kind of annoying. You can kind of like just scrape them off with your fingernail though, and usually there aren't like that many in there. But that's just one kind of weird thing about it. Other than that though, lately at least, it's been looking really beautiful on my skin, so I'm thinking this is just a really good foundation for the summertime, just because it's so lightweight. See, there's another couple of little gritty pieces, but I don't know. That's like the one thing that I do struggle with this foundation, but other than that, I really just like how skin-like it is, and it just doesn't look like you're wearing foundation, which is really my favorite kind of look for the summer. I'm going to just build up a little bit more of that to my cheeks where I do have a little bit of like acne scarring. So there's that, and you can definitely still see, you know, some of my skin showing through, but it just kind of created a nice base. So next I'm going to go in with their Clean Fresh Hydrating Concealer. This is newer to me. I have tried it a few times though, and in this I have the shade Fair/Light, just kind of your standard doe foot applicator. I feel like I haven't heard that many people talking about this concealer on YouTube. Maybe they did like when this line first came out and people were reviewing it, but I'm not really sure what the general consensus is on this concealer. So far, I think I like it. It's definitely a lighter coverage concealer, which makes sense for a hydrating concealer. I think from what I can tell, this line is really meant to be kind of more like natural coverage. So I definitely have dark circles, like that's just, it's like hereditary for me, and you can definitely still see some of that showing through, but I'm just going to add a little bit more to like the darkest area. Definitely feels very lightweight. So similar to the foundation, it really doesn't look or feel like I have makeup on my under eyes. I would say light coverage for me, but it looks really natural, and yeah, I don't mind it. So next I'm going to use their Clean Fresh Pressed Powder in the shade Fair. I really like the packaging of this. I just think it's so cute and feminine, and I'm just going to use that to set my under eyes and all over my face. Mainly focusing on like the T-zone, around the mouth, and then just a little bit around the perimeter of my face. I tend to be pretty indifferent with face powders. I feel like they all do kind of the same thing, but this one is nice. It feels kind of finely milled, like once I pick it up on the brush, and I don't feel like it makes my face look too like cakey or powdery, which would normally be things that I would want to steer clear of with a face powder. So for cheek products, I actually just have blush. I don't have any bronzer or highlighter. I feel like CoverGirl isn't really known for bronzers or highlighters, but they are definitely known for their cheekers blushes. These have been out for so long. I've had the shade Natural Twinkle in my collection for a very long time, and I really like that one, although it is quite sheer, so I kind of have to build it up, but I like that it just looks very natural on my skin. But one that I picked out from Look Fantastic is the shade Soft Sable, which I feel like is such a classic. Like, this is probably like the OG cheekers shade. I feel like I've just heard about it for so many years, but this is a really pretty, like, bronzy rose blush, so I feel like with this kind of blush color, you don't really necessarily need bronzer, and it's also very glowy, so I also think that highlighter is kind of optional with this kind of glowy blush. And unlike Natural Twinkle, which is the one I've had for a while, this one has, like, some definite flecks of, I won't say glitter, but shimmer kind of mixed in there. Whereas Soft Sable has more of just like a pearlized finish, so there's not necessarily like chunks of shimmer in there, it's more of just like a smooth, glowy finish. I feel like Soft Sable might end up being even more of a favorite for me, just based on the few times that I've tried it so far. But what do I want to apply this with? So yeah, let's just go right into it. And this one definitely seems a lot more pigmented than Natural Twinkle as well, so probably not going to need as much of it. Yeah, I feel like I almost picked up too much on my brush that time because I'm so used to having to like pick up a lot with the other shade. I feel like it looks kind of odd. Maybe this was not the best brush for that. Let's try it with this. This is a BK Beauty 104. Just gonna like barely tap in there. Try to fix that a little bit. Why do I feel like, at least in the viewfinder, it looks like there's like a harsh line there? Maybe that was user error. Let me try it on the other side with this slightly bigger fluffy brush. I'm having trouble. I feel like it almost looks like when you apply a highlighter that's too dark. For some reason, I just feel like this blush looks weird. Is it just me? Like, it almost looks like there's like a dark shadow here. Kind of like when you apply a highlighter that's too dark, it almost looks like there's like a weird shadow going on in your face. It's kind of what I feel like this looks like. I'm gonna try mixing, like tapping into my powder a couple times and then just like once into the blush and seeing if that doesn't like kind of soften it up a bit. I don't know. I feel like I don't normally struggle with like powder blushes because like what is there to struggle with? But the first time I used this, I liked it, so I don't know what's going on. Does anyone else have Soft Sable? And if so, do you like it? What are your thoughts? Okay, I feel like I've saved that just about as much as I can. It's interesting though, I feel like the formula of Natural Twinkle versus Soft Sable is quite different. Like, that's how Soft Sable swatched on my hand, whereas Natural Twinkle swatches much more sheer. That's Natural Twinkle right there. But Natural Twinkle is more of a, like I said, a matte blush with like sort of little particles of glitter mixed in, while Soft Sable is more of a pearlized finish. So interesting. Also, definitely no need for highlighter with Soft Sable because it's already so glowy. Moving on to the eyes, I also have their Lid Lock Up eye primer, and this is an eye primer with like a doe foot applicator. I find the best way to apply this is just taking everything from the applicator onto my finger, and that is enough for both eyes. The only two things that I don't have from CoverGirl are a brow product and a mascara. So I'm just going to use my everyday brow pomade from ABH and the mascaras that I currently have. But I have tried brow products and mascaras from CoverGirl. I do really like the CoverGirl, their little skinny brow pencil. I'll put a picture up on the screen. That one's really nice. I went through several of those. The only problem with it is that I went through it so quickly, and that's actually why I ended up switching to a pomade. Okay, so for eyeshadow, I recently picked up the CoverGirl Trunaked Jetsetter Quad. I just kind of picked this up on a whim. I hadn't even heard anyone talking about these quads, but it kind of reminded me of like the E.L.F. bite-sized quads, just with the packaging and everything, so I just figured I would give it a shot because I really like small palettes and quads like this. I was drawn to this one because I love gray eyeshadow. I feel like it's so underrated and it's kind of hard to find. And I like that this didn't have a matte black in it just because I have so many matte blacks throughout the rest of my collection. I just don't need another one in like a small quad. And it also didn't have like a matte cream color. I feel like those are the two shades I just have over and over again in my collection. So all 4 of these shades looked like very useful shades to me. So I'm definitely going to go kind of smoky today. The only other eyeshadow I think that I've tried from CoverGirl is their Trunaked Roses palette. I had that a while ago, and I ended up decluttering it just because I didn't feel like the quality was that great. It felt very drugstore, if you know what I mean. So I was just curious to see if maybe they'd updated their formula. I'm going to go in with this first like sort of satiny medium gray color into my crease. And you know what I'm actually going to do? I'm actually going to do my trick where I mix that with my face powder just to kind of soften it a bit, just because I don't want to go, I feel like I want my transition color to be a little bit lighter than that. So I'm just going to dip into my powder first and then that shade a couple times. So far I really like how that's blending, and I like the way that it's blending into my skin tone. I feel like sometimes gray can look very harsh and like unnatural, but it blends out almost into like a rosy color. So next I'm going to grab this slightly deeper matte gray here and sort of build that up in the outer V. I'm just using this like small detail crease brush. This is the BK Beauty 207. I'm going to kind of like focus that on the upper lash line here and then a little bit into the crease as well. And then I'm just going to go back to my crease brush with nothing else on it and sort of blend out the edges of that. Alright, next, the star of the palette I feel like is this silver shade. I love a good silver eyeshadow. I just feel like, I don't know, it's so classic. This shimmer in particular feels really nice. Like, to the touch, it just feels very soft. But not crumbly, just like very velvety soft. So I'm just going to pack that on with my finger. That tends to be my favorite way to apply shimmers. I feel like with like the NYX glitter primer underneath this shimmer, it would pop even more, but I wanted to stick to as many just CoverGirl products for this video as I could today, just so we could see like how much of a look you could get with just CoverGirl. I wouldn't even say it's quite as good as the E.L.F. bite-sized quad. Like the shimmers in that rosewater quad are really beautiful, like they almost do feel high-end to me. This still feels like drugstore, but I mean, I'm still able to get a look with it that I really like. Yeah, I'm a little underwhelmed by the shimmer, not gonna lie. Next, I'm just gonna go in with this lightest shade. It's like a very light taupe is how I would describe that shade. Like it kind of looks like a cream from far away, but it's really kind of taupey. And I am just going to tap that into my inner corner. And for the lower liner, I'm going to dip back into this matte gray again with a smudge brush. Trying to tap a little bit more of that silver. I just want more from that silver because it looks beautiful in the pan and it feels very nice. But so formula wise, not my favorite. It's workable, like I was able to get a really pretty look, but it definitely still feels kind of like drugstore. I feel like CoverGirl could definitely make some improvements to their eyeshadow formula. I think I do prefer the E.L.F. bite-sized quads over this, although I don't think the E.L.F. bite-sized quads come in a color story like this, so, you know, if you see a color story in this line that you really like, I don't think you can go wrong. Just, you know, just don't expect like Natasha Denona quality. Alright, so another thing that I picked out from Look Fantastic were these Perfect Point Plus Eyeliner. I also have their Exhibitionist 24-Hour Kohl eyeliners. These are like sharpenable pencils, whereas these are retractable. For whatever reason, these Exhibitionist pencil ones are very hard to sharpen. I have to put them in the freezer. That's a tip that I learned from you guys. Put them in the freezer for a little while and then sharpen them, and then I'm actually able to sharpen them without the whole tip just like coming off. But it's still kind of a hassle and kind of annoying. So I would prefer a pencil liner just because it is more environmentally friendly, just less plastic, but the Perfect Point Plus liners so far I'm really liking. These are, it's a very like thin pencil, which is nice if you want to like tight line with them or just get a very precise line. So I've got the shades Charcoal, which is a gray, Midnight Blue, which is like a deep navy blue, Gray Khaki, which is almost like a green gray, and then Espresso, which is a brown. So I think I'm going to use for today Charcoal, the gray. Gray eyeliner is not something that I would normally have on hand, but I've found it to be very useful. It's a little bit softer than like a straight up black, and I feel like if you tend to find black eyeliners a little too harsh, you might really like a gray. So I'm going to tight line with this. Oh, it just crumbled. Yikes. That's the first time that's happened, so I don't know if that was just a fluke or what, but you gotta be careful not to twist them up too far because you can't twist it back down once it's up. So it might have just been twisted too far up. So that's pretty. You can kind of see the difference between this side and the side without. And I find these really easy to tight line with because they're so thin and just very precise. Let's see, do I want to do the lower as well? I think I do. I just want to go crazy today. Alright, so once again, I don't have a mascara from CoverGirl, so I'm just going to use the current ones that I've been using, but I have tried several of the CoverGirl mascaras. I've tried Exhibitionist, Clump Crusher, Supersizer, and Lash Blast Volume, just the original one in the orange tube. And my favorite of all of them was Lash Blast. Now, I do tend to prefer like a rubber bristle wand, so that's probably why I like that one so much. But Exhibitionist was nice too. And honestly, so was Supersizer. I think it really just kind of depends on what kind of brush you prefer. Clump Crusher was the only one that I wasn't impressed with. That one did nothing for my lashes. So I just applied mascara. If you're curious what I used, I applied the ABH Lash Brag to the top lashes and the Undone Indie Lash to the bottom lashes. I've got two lipsticks from CoverGirl. I have their lipstick in the shade Honeyed Bloom. I really like this one. I've had this for quite a while. And the one that's slightly newer to me is their 24-hour matte lipstick in Thrill Seeker. I'm thinking for this look, I just really like to wear it like a cool light pink nude on the lips whenever I'm wearing like a smoky eye like this, so I think I'm going to go with this one. But I've worn this one in several recent videos and I really like this formula as well. It sets down, like it dries down on your lips almost like a liquid lipstick, and it's pretty transfer proof and very long wearing, so that's a nice formula too, the 24-hour matte. And then Honeyed Bloom is from their like cream line, and this one is very comfortable, more of like a satin finish. That's how much of that I have left, so I've used quite a bit of it. So that is the finished look. By the way, none of this was first impressions. I have used all these products at least a few times, so I could kind of have my thoughts on them when I filmed this, but I would say of all the products that I've tried, I already knew I really liked the Clean Fresh Skin Milk. It's been a little hit or miss for me, but recently I've really been loving it, so I don't really know what that's all about, but currently it's a favorite. And then the lipsticks, both of these I really like. These are two different formulas, but both formulas I think are really, really nice. The cream formula for more of like a creamy satin finish, and the 24-hour matte is a great like long-wearing matte lipstick. And I also am really enjoying those Perfect Point Plus eyeliners. One of you guys told me that this is like your holy grail and you feel like people don't talk about it enough, and I can definitely see why you like these because it's very creamy, it glides on smoothly. I feel like the staying power is pretty good in the waterline, and I'm really enjoying actually both of these gray ones, Gray Khaki and Charcoal. I think these are really nice, totally underrated colors for eyeliner, but I think these are probably my favorite. The Clean Fresh powder I also am liking. Like I said before, I'm kind of indifferent to most powders. I feel like they all do pretty similar things, but I like this one. The concealer I'm not as into just because I just prefer a little bit more coverage just because I do have pretty prominent dark circles, and I prefer like the E.L.F. Hydrating Camo, but this one's nice for like no makeup days, I guess. The eye primer I think is a nice drugstore option and I would recommend it. I feel like most eye primers are similar to me, and this one does seem to do a good job keeping my eyeshadows from creasing throughout the day. I feel like with the Soft Sable blush, I need to just use a lighter hand with it. I think that was probably my problem, but once I kind of got it like sorted out, I feel like it looks pretty good, especially on this side. I think this side, the brush I used, I think the first brush I used might have just been too small. That was, I don't know, maybe not the best choice, but on this side with the fluffier brush, I feel like it looks better. But I do like the glow that it gives. I feel like that's a really nice glow. So I don't know, if you have soft Sable, let me know what you think. But I've been a fan of Natural Twinkle for a while too. They're just very, I don't know, they feel like totally different formulas, to be honest. And as far as the Jetsetter Quad, I kind of already shared my thoughts on this. I feel like it's good. It's kind of pricey for a drugstore quad. It's like $11 or something around there, whereas the E.L.F. ones are $3. So I'd say if you can get them on sale and you see a color story that you like, go for it. I mean, just know it's not going to be like the most amazing quality ever, but they're definitely workable. And I mean, you can see how that look turned out today, especially those two grays, the matte and the satin. I felt like were very easy to blend and easy to work with. So I don't think it's bad. It's just not like, the formula is not something really to write home about for me. But hopefully this video kind of gave you a sense of what would be worth checking out from CoverGirl. If you've got any CoverGirl favorites, definitely let me know in the comments. I feel like I'm still, I don't know, I'm very intrigued by this brand. It's nice to have such an accessible drugstore, cruelty-free brand out there, so always curious to hear your recommendations in the comments. But if you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and hopefully I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye!